Hi everybody, it's Christina. Welcome back to another video here at Adventures in Polish Land. Happy Friday if you're watching this on Friday. I am here with another Friday Reads video, so let me share with you what I've been reading in this last week. I had finished off The Rest of Our Lives by Markovits on Saturday, and then I picked up Territory of Light. This is by Yuko Tsushima and translated by Geraldine Harcourt. It's a Japanese novel about a woman caring for her 2-year-old daughter as she separates from her husband. If you're interested in my thoughts on these two novels, I did post my October mid-month reading wrap-up earlier this week, so I have my full thoughts on these two books in that video. And then right now I am currently reading The Distant Marvels. I started this on Tuesday, I believe, either Monday or Tuesday. I am enjoying this. This is the story of a woman in Cuba during a hurricane in 1963. She is an old woman who knows death is knocking on her door because she has several health issues that she is purposefully not addressing. But in this book, while she is waiting out the hurricane with a bunch of other women, she is telling them her life story. So I'm finding it really interesting. I'm about a third of the way through. This is one of those books that while I'm reading it, I love it, but I have to encourage myself to pick up the book. So let me know if you've ever had that experience, because that happens to me sometimes where I am enjoying the book, but I just need to talk myself into picking it up and reading. So not sure what that's about. But today I thought I would talk to you about unhauling books. I unhaul about 25 to 40% of the books I read in any given year. I realize that is a wide margin, but I went through my Goodreads books I've read list for the last handful of years, and they ranged from 25% to 40%. And you may be wondering why I declutter so many books. And that is, first of all, practically, I only have one bookcase currently. It is overflowing, and I am constantly decluttering books from there so that I can put more on. But also, I want my book collection to represent my favorite books, or books that I want to reread in the future, or books that I want to reference in the future. So I only keep books if I plan on rereading them. So let me show you a nice stack of books that I am decluttering, and if you've been watching any of my videos recently, you might recognize them as some of my recent reads. So we have A Long Way from Verona by Jane Gardam, Mrs. S by Kay Patrick, The Promise by Damon Galgut, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, Everything Happens Today by Jessie Browner, and All Adults Here by Emma Straub. So these are all books that I read this year. Only one of them really I actively disliked. The others were middle of the road for me. They either were okay or I enjoyed them, but I just don't plan on rereading them. So I am going to be decluttering these. I will check to see if they are worth anything on a secondhand market like eBay. If not, I usually use the website World of Books. You can sell a box of books to them for very, very cheaply. They will give you literal cents on the dollar for your books, but I think it's better than losing my complete investment in these books. But if not, I will just donate them to either my library's book sale or a local thrift store. I really wish I had a good used bookstore in my local area. There are some in Boston, but I don't want to lug a whole bunch of books into the city if they're just going to not accept them. So that's why for now I usually either try to sell them myself, or if I don't think they will sell, I just donate them. As for the books in my current book collection, they are all representative of books that I either read recently and plan to reread, or books that I have reread at least one time. There are some books I've read multiple times. And as I mentioned, some of the books, I don't plan to reread the whole book, but I do reread passages. For example, I have a book called American War that I don't think I'll ever reread the whole book, but the book is told from a nephew's perspective featuring his aunt, and they have a really unique and close relationship. And my nephew means so much to me that when I read this book, it really impacted me because I felt a similar connection with the nephew in this novel. So I like to pull that book down and read those passages from time to time. And usually what I will do is when I finish a book, I oftentimes know whether or not I'm going to read it again. So for The Great Gatsby, I immediately knew I never wanted to read that again, and so that was an easy book to declutter. And for a lot of these books, like Everything Happens Today or The Promise, these books were fine, but I just know right off the bat that they're not something I plan to revisit. If it's a book that I'm not sure about, I will keep it on my shelves for the time being, and it will get decluttered at a later date once I've made a decision. There are some books that have been on my shelf for a while that I haven't reread, but I'm just not 100% sure yet. That being said, I heard about a rule online where if you can replace an item in 5 minutes for under $5, you can just declutter it, because if you ever want to get it again, you can easily just replace it at an affordable cost. And I think about that with books a lot, because if I declutter a book, chances are I can read it again for free from my library if I really want to, or I could probably go onto a website like eBay or Thrift Books and find an affordable used copy. So I am not too concerned when I declutter a book. Most of my books are not really worth much at all, or they can easily be replaced. In fact, when I was thinking about making this video, I thought back to all of the books that I have decluttered and if I regret any of them, and honestly, I don't. There was a book, Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson, that I read when I was in middle school or high school, and I decluttered it because I didn't really care for it. And years later, I came across a copy in Barnes & Noble, and I bought it again, I read it again, and then I unhauled it again because my first instinct was correct. It is a very important book, but it's not one that I need to continually reread. So I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know if you also declutter a lot of books, or do you keep all of the books that you read? I know there are some people out there who want their bookshelves to represent every single book they've ever read. I know there are also people out there who like to have a library where they lend their books to friends and family. So even if it's a book that they don't plan to reread, they like to have it on hand to lend out. I can certainly understand that perspective. And I know there are people out there who have bookshelves full of books that they've never read and that they never will read, but I'm sure since you are watching a booktube video, you are probably not one of those people. And if you do have books just for decoration, I would love to know why in the comments as well. That's it for today's Friday Reads. I hope you are reading a good book, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.